The interest in crypto is very quickly growing, so I thought there would be no better time than to make a video on 5 extremely important tips to allow you to maximize the money you make in this cycle right now. By doing this and implementing these tips throughout the bull run, I definitely am. It's going to allow us to stay one step ahead of that new, fresh, sort of dumb money, for a lack of a better word, that is coming into the space right now. Now, if this is you, you should be the one paying the most attention to this video because you have people like myself. We're going to dump on you. You will be exit liquidity. How do I know this? Because I was that poor person in the last cycle. And all I ask in return is if you learn something new in this video, at that moment, drop down there and hit a like and also subscribe while you're at it as well. It not only helps me, it's going to help you. Now, before I get into these 5 tips, there is a large, I guess, bonus tip, if you will, that I need to talk to you guys about briefly here. All right, that's trading. Now, I'm not a trader myself. I look at fundamental analysis, not trading. I never have. But right now, with the bull market ramping up, we need to maximize the amount of money we are making out of this market. I'm averaging right now between a 4 to 5x on my positions every single day by being in our trading group. I made this 2x on Fetch or ASI last night under the guidance of our professional traders very quickly and able to put that money into a coin I wanted to DCA into, which was Ondo. Now, if you're not looking to use this as a compounding idea to make money in trading and then throw it into your altcoins, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not a trader myself, and using me as that point of reference, I think, is just, that's why I'm so passionate about this. My goal is to make as many of you people rich as possible. I know I'm an influencer. I know you think I'm a person behind a screen that doesn't care, but truly, for those of you in this group, no, I do. I want you guys to make money with me, at least those of you who are willing to put a little bit of work in. Number 1, and yes, I've ranked this number 1 because this is by far the most important one out of this whole list, because if you screw this up, everything else doesn't matter. And you'll find out the hard way, okay? And that is creating a plan. Now, I get it, right? Oh my God, he's talking semantics, right? This is obvious. Create a plan. Well, truly, think about it. Create a plan in terms of what you need to acquire out of the market. Many people think a plan is you saying, I want this much money out of the market, okay? So if you think about it like that, you have no real end in sight. And I'll show you an example here momentarily. But I want you to organize actual goals, actual targets to hit in terms of materialistic things. And then when you know how much money you're putting in the market, you know how many multiples you need to get. For example, if I put $100,000 in the market and I want to make $1 million because I want to buy a house and buy a new car and buy some baby powder, for example, then what I need to do is 10x. I need a 10x. There's no point me at that point looking for a 20x or a 30x or a 40x. It sounds great, but let me just achieve my goal, what I came here to do, and then whatever comes after that can be sorted out once I've made that $1 million to start off with. And the way I break this down personally is it going to make me money or do I need it? If it's one of these two things, then it can stay, right? I want 9 properties at a 33% down payment per property here, which is about $4.5 million. I need 250K cash because I want to use this money to survive over the next 4 or 5 years. I want to have 250K to reinvest into crypto in the next bear market because I know that's all you need, timed at the right time, to then make millions of dollars. And also I want to pursue other business ventures. Pair that with the cash and money to invest in business ideas, I can become a serial entrepreneur. That's the idea. So I need $5.7 million out of the market. Now, we also have to factor in tax. Many of you do not do this. So factoring in 25% tax is about $6.7 million. So I need $6.7 million to achieve those targets. Now, if you're thinking about that and you're like, well, I'm putting in 100K, I can't physically 70X, or at least that's next to impossible. That's when you have to bring down your targets. Be real with yourself. Are you happy looking for 70x altcoins? At this point in the market, do not do that. Not financial advice. I mean, do what you want. I'm speaking from experience as a friend here. That's crazy. And that's almost going to guarantee you to walk away with nothing. But if you're asking yourself, Kyron, well, what do I get rid of? Well, again, is it a want or is it a need? If it's a want, like house extensions, you don't really need house extensions. Maybe instead of 9 properties, for example, your situation might be, I just want to buy a house, right? I'm sick of renting, I want to buy a house. Well, that is a need in my opinion, right? But you don't need house extensions, okay, unless your house is dilapidated beyond belief, okay? So you can get rid of that. That's a pretty mild want. But if you're like me and wanted a nice new Corvette, that's definitely a pretty hardcore want, so you can get rid of that. And a jetpack, for example, something for fun or leisure is the definition of a want. So you can remove these things and focus on the more important things. Of course, if you're putting in this case, 100K, well, you're not going to want to also go for these goals either. Dwindle it down until it's realistic and you're happy with that outcome. Let me remind all of you listening to this, a 900% gain or a 10x is unheard of before this. The only other time it was heard of was in the dot-com boom. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity, which we may not have again in the next cycle. Do not waste this chance to set yourself up and leapfrog a whole bunch of financial burdens because you are too greedy. Speaking of being too greedy, do not reassess your targets based on positive momentum. What does this jargon mean? This means if you're setting your targets like we just showed you over here, okay, and you're looking for about 7 million bucks, well, the goal here is to achieve that. What you don't want to do, and this applies for individual altcoins, we're looking at the general portfolio here of 7 million bucks to generalize this conversation, but let's say your portfolio is moving up and up and up, and it hits the 7 million bucks, or it gets close to hitting the 7 million bucks quite easily. The last thing you want to do is then say to yourself, I'm going to move these goalposts higher. I'm going to forget about this strategic target. And I'm going to go to myself, okay, 7 million bucks was hit quite easily. What if we move the target to 7.25? In the grand scheme of things, 7.25 isn't that much more than 7 million bucks. Okay, so you do that, right? You move it up and up and up, and the price goes up, and you're thinking, wow, this hit 7.2 million bucks pretty easy, or got close to. I'm going to move it up again. And so what do? You move it up. This time, 7.5. And you're getting there and you're getting there and price is going. And guess what? Zoom. You guessed it. Price has plummeted. And because it's crypto, especially if you use a DEX, what will usually happen is, and again, this usually happens with individual altcoins here, not your actual whole portfolio like this example, is that there's high slippage and it's sellers versus sellers, meaning it's a very illiquid market, which means that you try to sell here, but the market can't get you out here, and it tries and it tries and it tries, and everyone else is having the same problem. So they're moving their sell targets down, and you end up getting out way under where you even anticipated. That means in this example, even under 7 million bucks. It happened to me in the last cycle. Prime example is look at any mid to small cap that has survived the last cycle, and you will see a pretty much direct fall in terms of their price. That is scary. You want to sell on the way up, not on the way down. Achieve your goals and get out. 3 is be flexible, but don't be weak. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, I don't want you guys to be, sort of closed-minded. I want you to adapt as quickly as possible to anything that may come up along this journey. Crypto is very tribal. And what I mean by that is you guys are married to your bags as if it is the law, as if you are indoctrinated in a cult. And most of the time it is. A lot of you guys love a coin, and if someone doesn't speak positively about that coin, it's like someone just insulted your mother to your face. You get personal with it. And that is unacceptable in my personal opinion, but I don't blame you for that either. And so the problem with this is that by doing that, if there is telltale signs your coin isn't going to do well or something bad has happened, you don't have the ability to jump and leave. I'm going to show you a coin here that was my number one conviction coin, and I sold it all because, again, it just simply didn't meet my investing criteria anymore. Like I said, be flexible, but don't be weak. Don't also sell on the first sign of trouble just because you've heard some stories. Time and time again in crypto, people panic sell, so you have to be able to discern the two and do so in real time very quickly sometimes. So Terra Luna was a coin in the last cycle that ended up going to a very high market cap here of $40 billion. Actually, I thought it was much more than 40 billion, but anyway, it went very, very high. It was like number 3 ranked coin. And this coin absolutely went to oblivion because there was some horrible news that came out, and it was objectively bad news. But those holders that kept buying and buying on this dip, that just kept trying to catch the falling knife, so to speak, couldn't believe that their favorite coin was going to zero. You have to be able to tell in real time when the chips and the cards are all on the table, if it's time to hold or time to fold. Very important. A lot of you who are new to the space don't really have that ability to do that. That's why it's important you follow, people on Twitter and YouTube who you do have a connection with, who you do trust to some degree to bring you unbiased news. I hope I'm obviously one of those people. I'm here to make money, not marry any coins, because marriage is forever and I ain't holding any coin forever. Hedera H-Bar was my number one favorite coin. It's still my number one coin. I love the project and I love it. I think it'll do well in the long term, but not this cycle, right? I sold all my positions on H-Bar. I have a video coming out for you guys on this topic because it is a very important one to break down further. The CEO, the ex-CEO, should I say now, I was dumping on the community. Horrible transparency. The TPS has dropped and they've started to lose community support here. One of the evangelists you can see here was not happy about the recent news because there's a misappropriation of funds and now H-Bar has lost the meme of high TPS. Now it's doing low TPS. So I sold my position on that, guys, and I told you with H-Bar for years now, I will sell this coin if they push me to that level. If they lose me as an evangelist, as a supporter, they've done that. Goldfinch was a recent one. Less, I guess, large news, but in my personal opinion, it could grow to large news, which was loan issues. They weren't able to sort of fill, new loans, and the old loans were coming to a close very soon. I'll admit, yes, again, I could have probably held, and I think this coin will still do above 25, 30 bucks. This cycle definitely has that ability, but there is a chance now, this overhanging cloud, where if they don't fill new loans, the whole purpose of Goldfinch, mind you, then it ain't going to have any reason for people to want to buy the coin because nothing's happening. So they have a lot of work to do. And right now in the cycle, at least when I sold a few weeks back, I decided it wasn't worth it for me and I moved it to another RWA coin. And finally, Casper. I sold this coin 15, 18 months ago because of the problems that it currently faces. As many other coins in a similar category as this, which are Web 2 utility coins, they're not focused on Web 3. So I thought back then, and I was correct in this assumption, that they won't do well this cycle. It was one of my best decisions in my portfolio. And the founder confirmed my theory even more. He made this even worse for Casper when he said this. I won't even repeat what he said. You guys can pause it and read it yourself. Needless to say, he was very, very unsupportive of the very community, which is crypto community, Web3 community, that makes the project go up in price. Retail is everything. Community is everything. Next cycle may be a different story. But for this cycle, the coin won't go up in price if you don't have a community. And I had a prime example of this. One of the people who I respect in the space, I won't mention his name because I respect this guy, and I'm sure he was probably saying this to sort of be more, I guess, cinematic with it. But he said, I will hold my Casper to oblivion because I simply deserve it for being blind and listening to the team's promises and so on and so forth. I disagree with him. If you bought a coin like Casper and you know it's not going to do well and you're out of the coin mentally, there is no point in punishing yourself and punishing your possible financial freedom. We saw a coin Peanut this week. A guy invested $17 and made $3 million. Even if you sold a Casper at $17 and threw that into a meme coin, for goodness sake, and you made even a couple $1,000, I'm sorry, but that's better than holding on for oblivion. This one is the one that I think really wrecked me in the last cycle. This is probably the one that really truly does wreck most people. And that is buy your coins in the best narratives and bloody wait. Just wait. If you pick a coin in the right area, and you pick a coin that stands out amongst the rest of the competition in that area, for example, real world assets. Ondo stands out amongst the rest because of X, Y, and Z. If you can identify X, Y, and Z in that good narrative, it's going to do well. Okay. And that's literally 99% of the research you have to do. That's it. So by buying a coin like Ondo in real assets and you just wait, the money will come to you eventually. They work in narratives. So you'll have some narratives that perform early. You'll have some that perform late. You'll have some that will underperform, overperform, or be synchronized with most of the market. It doesn't really matter, but these all happen at different times. And the way I know this is because this is probably one of the most researched areas I've done within the macro market myself. This is a screenshot here of the different narratives pumping in different cycles. This right here was the last cycle. Notice all the coins then go up together with Bitcoin, come down, and build a double top with Bitcoin. They didn't do that. Some altcoins had their all-time high in the first pump and never recovered. Some had their pump in the second part of the bull run and didn't go up in the first part. Be patient and wait. If you're there chasing the dragon, you will forever be dumped on. You will always be last to the party and you will scrape some gains through and never achieve the multiples, not even a 2x, that you're likely chasing. And at that, you have a much better chance of so-called striking gold, finding the regions where the most gold concentrated is. And what I mean by this is you're better off finding the narratives that will do well already. AI, DeepIn, real world assets, gaming. Did I mention DeFi? DeFi, layer one projects. So you want to be focusing in these areas and finding the coins that do the best in these areas. And again, the difference between finding a coin that you think is good and actually a coin that does good is a difference between insane life-changing gains and I guess still very good gains, but nevertheless not life-changing gains potentially, because in AVAX, this is a layer one narrative from the last cycle. AVAX at the same time did a 2,500% gain, which is a 25x or a 26x technically, and Solana did a 78x, almost a 79x. They popped off at the exact same time in that same narrative you can see here, okay? But again, the difference was about a 50x in gain. So finding the right one is just as important as finding the general flow of money. But again, that is the most important part, finding the right narrative. And last but definitely not least, kind of builds on point number one, which is sell within liquid zones. Don't try to sell to maximize returns. If a price prediction for me is selling render at 90 bucks, you shouldn't look to sell render at, you guessed it, 90 bucks. Because while that looks appealing to you right now, and while you're thinking to yourself, oh, look at all this money I'm making on paper here by selling render at the $90 mark, guess what? Everyone else has a similar idea. And who knows, the longer you extend it, the further up you go, the more risk you incur, because any host of things could happen. All of a sudden, a whale might decide to sell, tanks the price by 20%, and that causes a capitulation event where many people agree with that and they see it overvalued and then they begin selling. You do not want to be one of them people, which is why in, again, the private community, I created this, the GGR zones, a whole bunch of different altcoins. Let's type in render here for this example, and it actually tells you the current price, the price prediction based on data, and it says top of the red zone, the price prediction for this coin is 90 bucks. So it pulls it down and finds our liquid zone or our green zone, which is what we want to be selling. Okay, so in reality, from the current price, we can probably get a somewhat based on data safe-ish exit at an 8.3x. The poor person trying to get out at any higher than this, so in the gray zone or the buffer zone, or again, the danger zone, the red zone, you run the risk of being fighting other sellers, like I explained earlier in the video, where you just can't simply get out. Now, this is one of the many factors as well. You don't want to always look at just the coins itself. You want to also be observing the market at all times, the MBRBZ score. Again, I've explained what this means on other videos as well. Something I'll be, profusely explaining on the channel and trying to bring up and show you guys where we are in the cycle. I'm going to keep you in the loop on the channel. My goal is, again, to make you and me the most money possible. And I hope that many of you agree and want to make the most of it as best as we can. So hit that subscribe button and let's do it together, guys. Thank you so much. All the best for this bull run, and I mean that sincerely. I'll talk to you all tomorrow. Take good care.